Do expect more stories this night. After everything occasion, we were all back to our regular lives. My cousin kept calling and I tried keeping him off. He tried turning me to a new leaf. I guess maybe he saw the skull rings I had on my fingers. On the phone, while I listened to all he would say, all the jargons, he even told me that when he met me and he patted my back, he felt as though he contaminated himself by just doing so, and that each time he would look at me, he would see me enveloped in full darkness. When I searched on my search tool for him, I saw the faith he was in wasn't false, or he was trying to guilt trip me. I couldn't even access his apartment due to the foreign looking beings. Now I would like to also open your eyes to something I experienced during my experience as a servant of the doom. The entities from the dark world were ugly and every definition of hideous due to the curse they got when they were all thrown out of heaven. But the beings of the Most High are more on the fearful zone and yet majestic. We often envy them, although our rulers would tell us that with time they would be beneath us on the last day. I never believed in God, but yes, I knew he existed, contrary to the mindset people outside the Ossetic zone think. Now, when I tried taking the life of my cousin, every attempt I made was fruitless. He genuinely served his master, and his master took him seriously. Exactly why I hated the one they called the Holy One, because he is always quick to forgive. All his treacherous sins, everything he did to me in the past, gone under the rug, just like that. My sinful life continued for decades until one day I came into my room and a majestic being was seated on my chair. All my powers were rendered useless at that spot. If you can recall in the past, most sacrifices I made were newborns or babies still in the womb due to their careless mothers or weak mothers. Note that whenever you're pregnant, oh God, I keep hearing a sound in my voice like, I think my device is still bad. Don't complain, but if it's really that horrible for you, just drop a comment like down below, please. Don't be offended. Okay, back to the story. Note that whenever you're pregnant, you are open to so many attacks because you do not even know the being you're carrying inside of you and his purpose to establish when he is born. At the sight of that being, a force bent my neck and I could not look up anymore. It was as though the being came with anger, or the cries of the taken already been heard by the highest zone. One of the things he said was, people will be able to perceive my evil deeds and no one would want to have anything to do with me. I will roam on the streets, and if anyone finds favor in me or brings me into his house, that day will I be saved. For the first time in so many years, I felt useless at that spot. And when that being left my room, I could no more utter a word. All I could hear was my voice, but coming from my head. The first place I had to rush to was my friend's house in case he had a remedy, or maybe whatever came into my room had already visited them. So I thought. When I rushed there, calls kept coming, but I could not pick because I could no more talk. When I got to his place, greeted by his dog looked at me and stepped back as though he saw a ghost. When my friend came out, he could not even come further. He closed his nose and squeezed his face. My clothes were clean and there was no dustbin nearby, so why the squeezing of the face? So I thought. He told me that I shouldn't even come any close, that the news is already everywhere. I tried saying words with my hands, but he didn't even care. He ordered me out of his compound and ordered the security guards never to let me come inside the compound. Tears were all in my eyes. I was stranded. I had no power, I had no access. I couldn't even do the things I would normally do spiritually. I sat in my car and I was so confused. In less than a month, everybody who had rented any of my apartments fled. They didn't even ask for a refund, they didn't even ask for anything. In less than a year, I was bankrupt. I could be seen as a vagabond at that stage, and gradually I started to roam on the streets. The pleasure of living in the house, the pleasure of driving flashy cars were no more found in me. I found pleasure in dustbin areas. People saw me as mad, but I was fully aware of my environment. One power that wasn't taken away from me was the ability to see things that the normal eyes could not see. Being mad, I could see everybody that I had sacrificed in the past. And each step I take would be as though I was dipping my leg inside blood. At nighttime, I would be tormented by their voices. One thing he said while saying all this was that he preferred his life before he met his friend. That he knew very well that even with the thrift clothes selling, he would have still made it in life, although at a lower pace. But his peace of mind would have been left with him than being a mother, although forgiven today.